are no answer. Have faith, stay strong. With God you can suffer. Just
pleasant good night, pleasant good night. You catch me napping there, boy. Pleasant good night, however. Yes, indeed. Tell me, what do I owe this early intervention?
You're not coming on Facebook?
Yes, we're supposed to be there. Let me check again. It's on right now.
Because the other night we didn't get no notification and it's not on there. I just checked and it's not on there, only on YouTube.
I'm on YouTube but not on Facebook, boy. I'm seeing here that I am on Facebook. Let me check again.
I just came up here. Yeah,
all right, check again and see. All right. Yeah, yes, indeed. Of course, people, I ran today as the final day of the test. So from here on, I don't have Cuff to assist me. So we are going to, of course, go it alone and cast in the deep blue sea. Yes, I'm seeing it, of course, on YouTube. I'm not seeing as yet what is happening on Facebook. Let me just check again. That's a mechanism that I will have to have my people take over from Cuff because he would have been actively involved in showing them what to do and how to monitor whilst I am on air. So let me just give it a little time again and let's see if it's going to come up because I'm seeing it, yes, on YouTube, but I'm not seeing. You're quite right, but I am getting here that I'm on Facebook. I'll have to call Cuff and find out what is happening there. But nonetheless, of course, we have a bumper program for you tonight. And it's Saturday night. I missed you as well yesterday, and of course, I think there was a problem on Facebook on Thursday, and I was, in spite of all of the what I consider to be the meteoric training, and yeah, it was meteoric. I mean, it was a learning curve that was tremendous over the last couple of days and leading into a week. But I'm determined, of course, to get there. And in getting there, of course, there will be some stumbling blocks, there will be some hiccups. But let me call Cuff now and find out if because I'm seeing it on YouTube as he instructed, as he directed us. But I don't want to call him because I boasted that I will have a hang of it by tonight. But clearly, if it is that it is not happening, then of course I need to, of course, consult with the experts. It's only natural and it's only obvious. But of course, nonetheless, we have a lot of information for you tonight. But let me just call Cuff and make certain that we are on and that Facebook part of it will not be disappointing to you. I'm using my phone, so you would bear with me. Yes, and let me get in contact with Cuff, and after that, I think after tonight, I should be well on my way to, of course, independence, so to speak. But that being as it may, I have to, of course, consult with the experts. Hey, I seen that I'm on Facebook, but I've not seen it on Facebook, so I don't know what I've probably done wrong tonight again. So if you could check it in, I will. Are you in a position to treat with it? All right, okay. Let me just put you in by remote. By remote, there's a program, people, of course, by remote. So wherever Cuff is, he has done that. We can, of course, communicate. So I'm doing that now. So I'm up. The program is called, of course, Any Desk. So anywhere you are in the world, there can be some remote interaction because of the technology, a beautiful technology, and that's why I find it difficult for the government to be so Jurassic and obsolete in their thinking. So I don't know what has happened here, but you notice I have the you see notice here. So that means it is Facebook is on. I suspect, but you will tell me. You are the expert. Why we are not getting it on Facebook? We are on now on YouTube. So he is there doing his thing. Just a minute. Just call back, please. Cuff is assisting me. All right. It coming. Cuff is working here. All right. Thank you. Yes, Cuff. Go ahead. Sorry about that. People like the corridor transformation, so the TISIC. Huh? All right. Let me see. Yes, indeed. Of course. Just have a little patience with us, people. We are working on it. I did that. I did that as well. Yes, I saw this coming up. Yes, indeed. He asked me to be a little patient, so people, we're gonna get there. Patience is virtue. They say. Oh, let me just not interfere. Yeah. Huh? I ever say? Go ahead. Alright. Stop. Starting back. Connecting. Alright, okay. Oops, sorry.
Lennox Smith, no. Must go beat him. Lennox Smith, no. Must go beat him.
RESPONSIBLE. And we go to last test, TEST. Alright, answer there. The final. Alright, okay. Yeah. TEST. Yeah. Sorry about that. Alright. People call it boy. They hurry. Alright. Alright, let me just answer that. Yes, we are going on in a while. Just Cuff is just tying up some loose ends here, and then we'll start in a momentarily. So just bear with us. All right. Yes. All right. On both Facebook, on both Facebook and YouTube. All right.
Right.
Yeah. So we are there. We are there now. Yes. All right. We there? Oh, okay, my friend. Thank you very much. Oh, God, boy. You're a godsend, boy. Later you can talk. All right. Yes, indeed. Of course, you know how it is with the technology. But I know people love the Facebook and they love the YouTube. I don't want to discriminate, but of course, let me put back on the music so that we could, of course, reignite the wonderful beginning that we would have experienced, except of course for that intervention. Let me just of course say to all and sundry, we are here and we are live and direct, of course.
For carrying me through the day. Thank him for all of his blessings. I will never go astray. To me and God, not the Almighty King. Give us life and that's the greatest thing. I know Jah is real and I can feel him. So it's the love in me and be expressed from feeling. You have been so good to us. May you do all the praise. We gotta say thank you, and God, we love you and adore you. We sit by your side. We gotta say thank you. Sometimes we pray and if we pray and no answer, have faith, stay strong. With God you can suffer. Just remember everyone a burden to bear, but Almighty now give you more than your share. Through the powers of Jah, that's why me a strive. If can't be ever can him control me life. Anything me want me know he will provide. That's why me not gonna find the Almighty side. The road is rough and rugged. You brought us through. When time seems down and out, you show us what to do. Just call upon him. The road seems rough and rugged. You brought us through. He will never let us down. When time seems down and out, you show us what to do. Oh Lord, when we look at where we're coming from and where we are today, we gotta say thank you, and Lord, yes, you promised to deliver us, got us in every way. We gotta say thank you. We have to thank him for waking me this morning. Thank him for carrying me through the day. Thank him for all of his blessings. I will never go astray. Whom me and Sam know the Almighty King. Give us life and that's the greatest thing. I know God is real and I can feel him. So it's the love in me and me express the feelings. We stay by your side. Gonna say we love you, and Lord, yes, you promised to deliver us. Gonna say every way. Gonna say thank you. Thank him for waking me this morning. Thank him for carrying me through the day. Thank him for all of his blessings. I will never go astray. Thank you, Jesus, for the shoes on my feet. For the food that we eat.
I see your eyes, still I had to try. Yeah. Oh yes, let me get my words right and then approach you. When I treat you like a man is supposed to, you'll never have to cry. No, I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. She's royal, yeah, so royal, and I want her in my life. The word of life. Oh, did you ever say thank you? No, all the things that I've shown you. No, still I stood by you. Has it occurred to you lately? No, how I feel in my baby. No, still I stand by you. Yeah, you. Yet there is one thing I need to know about this small man.
Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? SOS, SOS, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Help! Help! The Trinidad, a luxury liner, sailing the Caribbean Sea. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I sail a ball. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa. Now there's a lot of fingers pointing, suspicion running strong. Who's to be blamed for all her failures? Who's to be blamed for doing her wrong? Now please remember I'm warning you, for to the air she had the same crew who hold the keys to her vault. So we know who's at fault. Now it's up to you, it's up to me to make her worthy to go back to sea. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough, oh yes.
Yes, indeed, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. This is, yes, the Saturday edition of the Corridor Transformation. Sorry about the usual glitches these days, having regard, of course, to the transformation and the meteoric, of course, learning curve that has to be accessed, developed, understood, inculcated, assimilate, and execute in terms of what you have assimilated, because at the end of the day, the fruit of the pudding or the proof of the pudding is in, of course, the delivery. And of course, I am determined so to do. And I told Cuff, of course, that today will be the last test, and we must, of course, have a smooth running from tomorrow night, and cost it what it may. But the fact of the matter is, who are the ones that have put Trinidad and Tobago in the quagmire, in the dilemma, in the what I consider to be the doldrums, economically, socially, culturally, economically, educationally, agriculturally, a social development oriented, a social delivery, community development, youth decadence and degradation, And of course, most important, poor government, poor governance, and a misappropriation of not only resources, but misappropriation of even policies and programs that have turned out to be to the detriment of all of us. And therefore, we must say in a loud voice, and we must be in unison, and we must say categorically that Rowley and his bunch of opportunistic political parasites must now depart. And it doesn't matter how they depart. What we know for sure, that they have disgraced us, and that they have betrayed us, and that they have done us untold harm and injury, and particularly the prospects or the future generations of Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, in those circumstances, we must be unrelenting in our insistence that this bunch of opportunistic, political, nefarious, mafia-oriented, criminalistic, and clearly miscreants must make their expeditious departure from the offices that they hold. And we are going to do so and be very tolerant. We're going to give them time to call elections, etc., within the confines and the parameters of the Constitution and the other laws that govern the free and fair elections, even though we are conscientious that they are plotting as we speak. Let me repeat, they are plotting as we speak to thief the next elections, having stolen 2 already. We don't have to be a rocket scientist or believe that we are not living in Trinidad and Tobago. Somehow, some people would want to think that, and as a consequence, we are not aware as to what has happened. Yes, we are, and we must take corrective action. These are the people that have destroyed our economy, and all of the platitudes and self-righteous indignations that they exhibit as we speak in the debate of the 2024 budget debate in the parliament, and give themselves praise. We know that that is an exercise in futility as far as they are concerned. These are the people that have put Trinidad and Tobago in the doldrums, in the decadence, and in the state of unrelenting spiral downwards and destruction if we as a people allow it. These are the individuals, and therefore a cabinet with a track record of not only the highest amount of crime in the country that the country has ever seen in terms of murders, etc., and not only in circumstances where they spent more than anybody else. You see, Dr. Rowley came into office saying that he could do more with less. He came into office, people saying that he could do more with less. He has borrowed more, doubly that of which his predecessor would have engaged in. I'm talking about Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC. And let me tell you how disrespectful and uningratiating, because we have to put things in perspective and give Jack his jacket and put credit where credit is due. We owe a debt of gratitude to Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC. It was Dr. Rowley on the major and most expensive project in Trinidad and Tobago, $7 billion, the highway to Point Fortin, and while in opposition, he was saying that they should borrow the money. But Kamala Prasad Bisasa, the UNC, by the time 2015 came and these a bunch of vipers, opportunists and ignoramus, totally incompetent and impotent, beating themselves on the chest in a state of consummate illusion and delusion, it was that administration, the Kamala Prasad UNC administration, that said, no, we are going to bite the bullet, so to speak, and we are going to sacrifice, so to speak, and we are going to depend on our own local domestic resources financially in order to construct that highway. Yes, people, you may not be aware, Rowley and they, it is not in their interest to say that or to admit to that, simply because they want to stay in office, do us evil, engage in the most extreme of profligacy, and then of course say to us, having of course poisoned the public interests. Yes, destroyed the public interests, betrayed the public interests, and want to stay there to continue that bizarre and of course uncanny and unacceptable conduct in public office. No, it doesn't matter whether it's Penny. The fact that she can associate with them tells who she is. So I have no qualms and I have no respect for any one of them that have rested their political and their social and their principle and their moral and their ethical buckets inside this travesty created by Rowley, administered by him as the most evil and incompetent group of individuals that Trinidad and Tobago has ever encountered so far. And it is clear we have a responsibility not to make that reoccur. Otherwise, we will be subjected to the principle that a person or a group in this case, or a nation in this case, doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. It's not that they are mad, but you have to be asinine specimen of inhumanity. You have to be damn fools for Rowley and they to fool us again after two major elections. It was Kamala Prasad Bisasande that said, listen, no, by the time Rowley and them took over, the debt to GDP was about 44%. It is now vacillating around 90 to 95, nearing 100%. Debt to GDP, people. Understand that debt to GDP in Trinidad and Tobago, by the time Rowley had his first 5 years, we saw the most amount of spending ever. Otherwise, he came in saying that he comes to save us, and he comes to save us in the sense that saving us money, and he went on a political experiment that talks about, of course, fiscal consolidation, as if we do not know what that means. But fiscal consolidation has its place if they were sincere, if they could have demonstrated that what they would have preached is what they practiced. And what we saw, it was fiscal consolidation for the population. In other words, if the country is not producing, even though they would have caused it by their very presence and by their poor policies and programs, they would have caused it. They want us to suffer the consequences of a reduced quality of life, standard of living, and then relegated more people than ever before in the quickest possible time to a position of what? Of poverty, of groveling, of begging, of handouts. That is what they have done. That is the practice. And at the same time had the audacity and the temerity to believe that we are so damn stupid, engage in the closing of major, whether directly or indirectly, major foreign, in particular, and export aspects of our economy, particularly in the petrochemical area, because it was pointless. That was almost emptied. Over 11 companies left. And I was reading something before I came in from Ralph Maraj, one of the thorns that Rowley has identified, and talk of him as go and drink your rum and so on and so forth. That is how despicable and nasty this man. Because I am saying all these things because I'm coming to another point after this, and that is the crime talks that Rowley glibly, superficially and superfluously asked for help from the opposition. Let's go straight to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the external contributor to the corridor transformation. A pleasant good night to you.
Good night, Lennox. Good night to you and to everybody.
Yes, good night.
I've been so properly introduced like that. And you know, we have a lot of pain. And I
expect.
I like how you play. She's royal for Kamla.
That's right. She is definitely royal. No one can know that. And they too know it.
They know it.
Yeah, they know it.
And they can still whoop them on.
Yes.
They call them a speak. And Rowley's are open mouth. Jump over. So we are hit Dr. Monilal 11 10 on a commercial.
I don't know if you're moving around, but you're breaking up slightly, so you have to probably say one place.
But Committee Roberts Regis want to talk about ghost houses. Okay, 8 years we never think about ghost houses. Now she eating food, right?
Yes.
Eating lunch boxes.
Yeah.
She talk about 7,000 houses. She better come back and see if she find it in her handbag. Because there are a lot of things hidden in her handbag. Even the wigs and all, but she can't use it. Lennox is so good polish her. You can't even put a wig on that bowling ball head.
Oh yes.
All of them have to get a portion.
Yeah. I like how Lady Gypsy described it. She said she has get trimmed with a waka.
Yes,
A weed waka.
Yes.
I mean, that is hilarious. Yes, indeed. But go ahead. Yes. Yes.
The next one I go back to is Marvelous. The of the UNC.
Yes.
Remember Marvin about the days of UNC. Children. Nobody didn't. The children were getting it, but children were getting glasses and hearing aids, right? What was the orthopedic program where amputees were getting limbs, orthopedic limbs, and the PNM stopped it. There was the external patient care, PNM stopped it. There was the dialysis program. What did PNM do with it? And he wanted to talk about the dark pit of the UNC. We were flourishing in this country, and if next crayfish talking about the opposition and doing nothing. Thank God for the opposition that we got a local local government elections. Thank God for the opposition that Mullah exposed the 100 million from terrestrial development.
Yes.
And all is saying the opposition not doing anything. But I think the straw that broke the camel back, Lennox, is that Rowley new crime talk group, I call it that, right? The people he chose was failure Stuart Young, Watermuck, could no leaks prevent proper water distribution, and the Stupsen tourist minister, the failure tourism minister, and the perjurer, right? Look at the ones that he take, not him, national security, on that crime plan, so opposition. I think Kamala, everyone was calling for Kamala not to go, right? Because of what we suspected Rowley was going to do. And tonight I am saying, I am making the call. Don't go. Not with that team. Not with that team. One set of failure. What does Randall Mitchell, the tourism minister, know? Fitzgerald Hines don't even know about crime and he's the minister of national security.
And both of them are so-called lawyers. I mean, it is ironic. It's so ironic that it's ludicrous. I mean, they are simply nincompoops. Square peg in wrong hole.
And he put the macaroni, yes.
Yes.
And he put the macaroni pie muck on it too. What does Marvelous Marvin Bob crime? Lennox, let me tell you something, I totally agree now that Rowley don't and cannot solve the crime situation in this country.
He could have never.
Rowley lied to the people.
Yes.
Yes. He lied to the people. He fooled the people that he had the answers to the crime situation in this country. And now he's not even showing up at that meeting. You don't want Gary Griffith to go. So you take people in this country, right? You don't have to go into parliament for the people. Look on the outside. And if you really wanted to bring somebody, you bring cold pot man instead of that water muck. Lennox, here now. We now have to brace ourselves and protect ourselves in our own way that we could. Because clearly the government who lied to the people can't do anything about it. At least Kamala's government was still trying. Rowley showing that he's not even making an effort to do anything good for them. Ain't good for all who put him there. No ball, let's take out your mama's ball for HDC. Ain't good. I ain't sorry. And you see, I strongly believed also that those on the live tonight, they come here with a nastiness in order to get out of the HDC eviction. I feel they promised them that, Lennox. It has to be something Lennox. It has to be.
Well, there is not as blind as he or she who refuses to see. That much we all agree to. So they are blind. So they are blind. They are blind. No problem with that. But they will eventually see because they have come to the healing grace of the corridor transformation and others like yourself. Yes.
Where they open, they will learn something.
That's right.
And not be fools and slaves to the PNM lies, half-truths, innuendos, and propaganda. Lennox, thanks a lot for listening to me and have a good night.
Yes, indeed. And I would love for you to call back with another topic, because the early part of your presentation was a bit brittle, so to speak. But of course, we are very, very knowledgeable, and therefore made a lot of sense, or we have gleaned quite a number of issues coming out of there. Of course, the question she started with, of course, was the question of the presentation by and the disclosure in that process of Munilal, the former Minister of Housing under the UNC administration headed by Kamla Prasad Bisesa between 2010 and 2015. And of course, we saw where he said that the Chestrail housing program is a Las Alturas number 2. And you could take number 2 in whatever way. You could think of it as feces, and you could think of it as a consecutive number, the number just after 1. Let's go straight, of course, to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome. I know that you are wearing, but go ahead. You have your opportunity now.
Lennox, and I call for a boy. Good night. Sorry, good night, everybody on the line.
Yes. Go ahead.
Lennox, and I call for a boy.
Go ahead.
With him, but now because I want them paying them for the life with the fight. Also fighting, please. Yeah, I want them paying them on the life to see it now. How he laughing again. And saying, how we can get diarrhea, all kind of thing with this budget and all kind of thing. And what will happen with the next budget. And that's pretty like fun on now, boy. So the man laughing at me now, boy. Not only we, but laughing at them too now, boy.
I certainly will. Yeah.
And how you name licensing or the licensing laughing too? Show them.
I will. And not that they don't know already, but of course we could just reinforce. We have to reinforce. Yeah. He's a good teacher. You have to, of course, repeat. There are some who, of course, are difficult to comprehend. They find it difficult to comprehend, and therefore you have to repeat and repeat. So you are a good teacher, very good advice, and certainly we will do that. But I want to say, in non-certain terms, of course, so when he laughed, this most what I consider be crookish laughter, or should I say devilish, or even satanic, or even, of course, a kind of Dracula laughter that he would normally have. Kiki. Well, of course, when he said, of course, that the people didn't riot, well, they are looking for a riot, and the riot may not be in the form that they or he expected. It will be like a riot similar to what transpired in Tobago. They will be lucky if they get a seat at all. Because the people of Laventille and these places along the east-west corridor, deep south, Point Fortin and La Brea, I'm sure by now you would have been conscious. And as I said earlier, in a response to, of course, Miss Santa Cruz and our external contributor, there is none as blind as he or she who refuses to see. That suggests, of course, that you're conscious, and your conscience will allow you not only to come on this live and to try, of course, to generate a mischief, because that is what it is. Of course, at the same time, give us some relief in terms of jokes and the way that people would engage in serious matters as this and making it jocular. Well, that is comic relief. But go ahead, caller. Pleasant good night. Welcome, caller. Yes, pleasant good night to you as well. Yes.
Mr. I can make it quick. One, you see people who does be commenting on the live, the shows.
Yeah.
I will like them for them to call in. Let me hear them. Instead of typing with the fingers, let me hear them. Let me hear what they're in their mind. This typing thing ain't making sense at all. Let's speak out now, man. And two, the opening the piece highway in point here. I just want to say, Kamala Prasad Pisasa, thank you very much for taking the action to start the highway from Gorkonda to Point 40. Because Franklin Khan said some years ago that the people partnership didn't start, they started the highway in Standard and then reaching Point 40. I want to tell you earlier, he lied because I started working part in Point 40 when they opened here today. So Carmela, you and the government at the time, thank you very much. I went and drive on the highway there tonight. The first one, he was to finish it. That's all I could say. They just happened to first one, you can finish it. But Carmela, you got to take all the credits for the highway.
Let me ask you something before you go. You're still there? All right. Well, maybe you can call back. I want to find out what has happened to that piece of the highway that fell into the swamp below, constructed by, of course, Jusamco, a subsidiary of Junior Sammy, and of course belies what Dr. Rowley said in the local government elections when he said that defending, of course, that monstrosity at Balize House, upwards of or close to $100 million, some say, after, of course, he said that the PNM was bankrupt in 2015 when he got in there and was in fact owing over $4 million. Well, I want to find out if that piece of highway has been repaired, because there is a necessity to find out who would be responsible for the construction thereof, or is it that they have abandoned that piece? Because Jusamco, contrary to what Rowley told us, was in fact pouring concrete on the foundation of Balize House. That blasted and total liar. And to those who are on the live, but let's go straight. Let's go back to that caller. I suspect that you understood what I was trying to ask you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, right now that part of the highway is still in the sea right now because the fishes and them using it right now still. You see, they ain't ready to give it back to the humans as yet. So it's still down in the bottom of the sea. Fishes and them enjoying it right now. Wherever remains it have down there, the fishes and them enjoying it.
Good. Well, I will.
This piece will open here.
Yes.
And this piece will open here. This piece are not still unfinished too. And Lennox, you know, this morning I hear 2 people dying there on the journey.
It's Rowley and them, you know. It's Rowley and them, you know. Nothing they do could be sincere and pure and responsive to the needs of the people in totality. Is something always sinister, something underhand, something devilish, something satanic, something untoward. I mean, it is just shambolic, and I don't know how these people could sleep in the night. But they will be, they eventually they will get what is coming to them, and they will be extreme. They will be uncomfortable to the extreme on a consistent basis. It's just a matter of time. The people will respond.
But Lennox.
Yes, go ahead.
Those Jackson and down south side where they be pumping the oil. Those Jackson and right, they come and they put one on the wrongs about here to open the highway. Just as a normal ornament. They know the real ones that they have. You know, them and all two in working. They have a few of them in working and pointing them.
I would not be surprised. And the arrangement with people like Dr. Rowley's good friend, as he orchestrated a getaway for him at talking about, of course, the oil company that was engaged in the yes vigilance, that's right. They would be getting their, I'm sure, their kakada still, because the contract was given back to them, and it is land-based acreage that they were supposed, of course, to salvage oil from. I'm certain that is happening, because election is coming. All those activities that they are engaged in, pitching road, etc., half a road, piece of road. I mean, it is ridiculous, but they're going to get what they have, what is in store for them by the people. Go ahead, my friend, if you have anything more.
Right. Let me add this last point before I go. I just want to say thank you, Andy, Mikey, Koff, and the entire Gong Report crew for opening up the eyes of people at Trinidad and Tobago who eyes and ears are willing to open. Because I notice all the favorite color they are, we named by Wall Street. Wall Street have its own program right now educating people at the ills of what going on in the country. So that is a good thing. And when I get a chance, right, the last live what they did, he ended up calling Alexander. Police Alexander, you call him Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, that Johnny Bravo, yes. That he must have no brain.
Right, the answer man some questions concerning the crime situation in the country. You know what I'm doing? I'm blaming the people, just like Raul, you know. When I just listen to it and you will see.
Yeah.
Then these people them know the problem that we're facing in the boat. But the problem of the problem or the people actually antibody. They say the people is the fault. The people that have cigarettes selling $500 for a pack of cigarettes in the jail. So they ask the question, and how the cigarettes get in the jail? But it's obvious the people who in charge of the prisons is them who having the cigarettes coming in.
That's
and
right.
They don't want to face that reality. So the people who living outside Trinidad and Tobago seeing the problem for what it is and advising them, hey, this is what they have to do. But again, they want to blame the people and not themselves. They're not going to listen.
Yes, indeed. And there are some serious socio-economic and psycho-cultural issues surrounding that kind of a situation. Because remember, it's not just about a profitable enterprise, you know, as far as the jail and the cigarettes and illegal things or contraband that enters and leaves the prison, you know. It's not just that, you know. It is a sick and bizarre scenario where not only are people regularly entering the prison system because of what is happening outside of the system, inside of the society, that is to say, the police, the government and its various apparatus and commitment to young people, generating employment opportunities, and of course providing moral and ethical values and so on, and they themselves engage in criminal behavior and therefore cannot be exemplars. All of that is psychological. So one can expect that kind of attitude would generate a level of recklessness and brutality and anti-human and anti-societal behavior that the very prison officers would be a victim of, you know. The very prison officers. Because if you have a fella who the police knows that maybe a gangster and he's a leader, and you as a prison officer, you get the work because you're desperate for work. It's not that you have any choice. It is a Hobson's choice on your.
You are dependent on the job. It is part of your DNA and your survivability. To put food on the table and to first mind your family. I want to deepen the understanding as to why a prison officer may well, in spite of the regulations, in spite of the rules, in spite of the clear responsibility that they have, because the system itself does not rehabilitate, and especially where the remand yard or the remanded prisoners are concerned. It's a complex matter, people. The only they just playing the fool, and they are the ones that cannot, because they've encouraged it, they have built up, and they cannot solve it. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Welcome, a pleasant good night. Sorry. Yeah, welcome, a pleasant good night. Pleasant good night, welcome. Alright, why is that so? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alright, okay. Alright, let me see what's happening here. Let me see what's happening here. Let me check it out. Let me check it out, boy. Let me check it out. Somebody tell me if it was happening like that before. Let me see. Why is that so? Why is that so? Let me just check here. Active. Okay. Let me just desktop request audio. Alright, what's happening? Let me see what that's in. I wonder if I put on this one. Just say 1, 2. Alright, let me hear what's happening. Hello? Alright, okay. Alright, thanks. Yeah, boy, it's only like 2 minutes there, boy. Yes. Just sing. Testing. 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 I know that I problem yet, boy. Just sing. Just sing. Just sing. Just sing. Just sing. Just sing.
Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, this seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? SOS, SOS, mayday, mayday, mayday. Help! The Trinidad, a luxury liner, sailing the Caribbean Sea. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I sail a ball. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa. Now there's a lot of fingers pointing, suspicion running strong. Who's to be blamed for all her failures? Who's to be blamed for doing her wrong? Now please remember I'm warning you, for 30 years she had the same crew who hold the keys to her vault. So we know who's at fault. Now it's up to you, it's up to me to make her worthy to go back to sea. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? SOS, SOS, mayday, mayday, mayday. Help! Help! The Trinidad, a luxury liner, sailing the Caribbean Sea. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I sail a ball. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa. Now there's a lot of fingers pointing, suspicion running strong. Who's to be blamed for all her failures? Who's to be blamed for doing her wrong? Now please remember I'm warning you, for 30 years she had the same crew who hold the keys to her vault. So we know who's at fault. Now it's up to you, it's up to me to make her worthy to go back to sea. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? SOS, SOS, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Help! Help! The Trinidad, a luxury liner, sailing the Caribbean Sea. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I sail a fall. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa. Now there's a lot of fingers pointing, suspicion running strong. Who's to be blamed for all her failures? Who's to be blamed for doing her wrong? Now please remember I'm warning you, for to the air she had the same crew who hold the keys to her vault. So we know who's at fault. Now it's up to you, it's up to me to make her worthy to go back to sea. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? SOS, SOS, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Help! Help! The Trinidad, a luxury liner, sailing the Caribbean Sea. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I sail a fall. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa. Now there's a lot of fingers pointing, suspicion running strong. Who's to be blamed for all her failures? Who's to be blamed for doing her wrong? Now please remember I'm warning you, for to the air she had the same crew who hold the keys to her vault. So we know who's at fault. Now it's up to you, it's up to me to make her worthy to go back to sea. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we
I see hate. Mr. Speaker, I see bitterness. Mr. Speaker, I see acrimony. Mr. Speaker, I see animosity. And Mr. Speaker, I see a man completely out of control. Completely out of control, Mr. Speaker. That is what I see. And that problem is not a new problem to me, you know. I was aware of the tendency for the honorable to go out of control since 1987. Argue your case. Everybody has a chance to do it. But not like my good friend. The minute you oppose my good friend, Mr. Speaker, the minute you oppose my good friend, he gets very, very angry. And if you oppose him strongly, Mr. Speaker, he becomes a raging bull. And that is what this government is not prepared to. That is what it was. We just were not prepared to accept that. I went to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in August 2003 as a Minister of Government in Trinidad and Tobago, a PNM minister, and told him that there was bid rigging taking place in Udicott. What the Commission of Inquiry is looking at is 10 times worse than what happened with Piako Airport. And it's even more brazen. The PNM is on trial. Because those of us who were here and carried the O'Halloran stain, we cannot take the position that this is all talk. In 1986, when we went to campaign in my area, I was there. I don't know who else was there. I was there. And you're going door to door, and they're slamming doors in your face in Westmoorings, in Glencoe, in Bayshore, and all they're telling you about is O'Halloran. And today, every school child in this country knows that there's something called Udicott, and it smells to the high heavens. It smells to the high heavens. If this country cannot call to order its Prime Minister and his cabinet and his political party to say we are not accepting that, then God help us. Why should people be sacrificed so as to allow others, wrongdoers, to prosper? That is what we're being called upon to do, colleagues. That's what we're being called upon to do. And those of you who think that I'm being obstructionist and I'm being whatever you want to, what we are being called upon to do by a small clique of people in the country is to support wrongdoing, pretend not to know, and see if we can ride it out. We are not going to ride this out. $700 million worth of contract lands on the Princess Building ground. Not a soul in Port of Spain, in Belmont, in Cascade, in Laventille, in Depo Martin got 1 day's work there. 100% Chinese work. Design, construction, materials, everything. And I am supposed to support that. And if I don't support it, I get myself slandered in and out of Parliament by my own Prime Minister. $700 million worth of contract lands on the Princess Building ground. Not a soul in Port of Spain, in Belmont, in Cascade, in Laventille, in Depo Martin got 1 day's work there. 100% Chinese work. Design, construction, materials, everything. And I am supposed to support that. And if I don't support it, I get myself slandered in and out of Parliament by my own Prime Minister.
I want to tell you something. I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Liquor 2. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it. Remember I was in the cabinet? I took issue over the behavior of Calderheart and Udicott. And what happened to me? I was put out of the cabinet. The person who put me out regretted it.
Mr. Abraham, my good friend, area managers, party chairman and secretaries, my chairman wife Halo, ladies and gentlemen. When last we met, I relayed to you that I will be prepared to consider my position on electoral politics in the following terms. My health, that is to say, that I would have had to have an assessment on my health, and your support if you believe that you can support me when I would have been prepared to consider it. But in particular, when I had a stroke and later on 3 years, the people of Sanford Armies stood by me. I am offering to stand by you. So in closing, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give my consent to the party vice chairman, and I make myself available to see if you so need me. Thank you very much.
One of the first things we will do after the 7th of September is to have a tremendous function to honor the service of Patrick Augustus Gordon Mann. That is what it was. We just were not prepared to accept that. And Mr. Speaker, you don't know the trouble I see. You don't know the trouble I see. I have had to live with that for 12 years. When you can't have your way, and when he cannot have his way, Mr. Speaker, his method is to bully. That's what it is. His method is to bully you. That is what I fought against. That is why his employment was terminated. Mr. Speaker, we do not tolerate bullying in the secondary school system. We're not tolerating bullying in the cabinet. We're not tolerating it. And if the member for Diego Martin West wishes a cabinet in which bullying is the order of the day, he's going to have to form that cabinet himself. It ain't going to happen in this one. It's not going to happen. He has learned to behave. I don't know if the member realizes it. I don't think the member realizes it. That when you carry on with hate that you have, it impairs your judgment. It impairs your judgment. That is what it does. And therefore your prescriptions are not straight. I want to tell you something. I'm from Mason Hall in Tobago. Mason Hall very close to Liquor too. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it. Remember I was in the cabinet? I took issue over the behavior of Calder Hart and UDCOP. And what happened to me? I was put out of the cabinet. The person who put me out regretted it.
I see hate. Mr. Speaker, I see bitterness. Mr. Speaker, I see acrimony. Mr. Speaker, I see animosity. And Mr. Speaker, I see a man completely out of control. Completely out of control, Mr. Speaker. That is what I see. And that problem is not a new problem to me, you know. I was aware of the tendency for the honorable to go out of control since I...
Mr. Deputy Speaker, all 5 judges of the Privy Council and aldermen did not amount to a contravention or breach of any provision of the Constitution. This decision, studiously arrived at, did not prevent some of my colleagues in this House and some elements in the media from continuing to accuse the government of Trinidad and Tobago of breaching the constitutional rights of citizens. To this accusation, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the government pleads not guilty.
The election of representatives for a fixed or maximum period is the foundation on which a democratic society is built. It is inimical to a representative democracy that the representatives are chosen by anyone other than the electorate. If the relevant amendments were to apply to incumbent representatives, the effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year. If the relevant amendments were to apply to incumbent representatives, the effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year. Local government elections should have been held by March this year. Local government elections should have been held by March this year.
I want to make it abundantly clear that the government has no choice but to accept the ruling of the Privy Council.
Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? SOS, SOS, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. The Trinidad, a luxury liner.
October 10, 2023. The government is under the specific memorandum of understanding about
Testing. 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 Yes indeed. Yes indeed. Of course, give me a response as to whether or not I am back on track and not sounding like a robot. I did what I had to do. I had to plot that. I had to, of course, find my way, feel my way. But at the end of the day, I think I have been successful. Let me just say once again, of course, our sincere apology. Let me hear. Am I sounding like a robot still?
Nah, you wasn't sounding like a robot. You were sounding like a horror movie.
All right. Okay, I hear you. So things are back to normal now.
Yeah, things are back to normal.
All right.
If it's an app, you're not using it, you want to send an app from them because when people call them,
yeah. Why? Me didn't even know what I do. I just hear it sounding better, and I am back on. So I didn't get to cough because cough is indisposed at the moment. We didn't expect that kind of should I say incident to take place, but God is good. God is good, and who God bless, no man curse. So we pray that way. All right. So we are back on. Yes, indeed. Sorry about that, people. But of course, in the interim, I'm sure that you were treated with quite a number of pieces of information that I would have played, but of course with some kind of introductory element to attach so that we can put it in perspective. But I think the general idea has been, of course, taken. That is to say, the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago is one that is intolerable, and you have, of course, a group of individuals who clearly have lost their way, and they have exhausted the tolerance of the people, and therefore to have three, not consecutive, but at least two consecutive records of higher than any other time murders, I think is sufficient information, is sufficient qualification, is sufficient material, is sufficient expression and experience to let Rowley and they know that they must get up. But because they themselves have a criminalistic tendency, they will not. Something like those fellas in remand, nobody says that they are guilty until, of course, the reality comes and the evidence is brought before the court, and then, of course, you know that they're making a 5 years or 6 years or some other penalty that is connected to the infringement of the criminal justice system. But I want to say this as well, because that came up, and of course you could call me now. I think the matter has been resolved. It was very simple, you know. I just had to, of course, press a knob and then re-engage it. That was it. But it took me some time to, as I say, probe, you know, and look at the settings and go back there and all of that and so on, and then make some adjustments and all of that. And that time the problem was just as far as not the software but the hardware part of it, I think, was the problem. That being as it may, the reality is, people, that of course Dr. Rowley is now attempting to benefit, having even said, I think, at his presentation in the budget debate for 2024, is saying that he invites them. There is sufficient, irrefutable, and a plethora of evidence to show that that is merely platitudinous attempts to ingratiate not the population but himself, and to somehow have a queer and enigmatic and a very despicable attempt to take the moral high ground. There can be no moral high ground for Rowley in particular. The man is toxic, he is evil, he is diabolical, and he will use as a typical kobo, and in this case, of course, a human political kobo, to do what? To extract as much political mileage as he can, even in circumstances where he knows that his cuckoo is cook. He knows that he does not stand a chance in hell to be Prime Minister of this country again. But I have a note for those persons who come on the live, as mentioned by our external contributor, defending the indefensible and at the same time appearing to be in a state of denial. Well, I want to tell them, listen to the reality. The reality is that you all are supporting a pedophile and a rapist. Let me repeat that. That should bring all to all your senses, if all you have none. You are supporting a rapist and a pedophile, and let me put it in perspective. You see, not that you all don't know that, but I want to rub it in and bring it home and give you a scenario where your son, your daughter, your grandchild came home of school age and say that the teacher interfered with them. What will you do? You are a promoter and an encourager of nastiness, and I could say without fear of contradiction that you are nasty. It's better you shut your trap, hush your blasted mouth, and let those who have a commitment and dedication to eradicating that kind of scourge, that kind of blight, that kind of curse that Rowley not only represents but is the embodiment of, and is saturated and pregnant with nastiness, and that is your leader. Shame on you. Shame on you, man. And because of that, as I said, I sent him a 7-page pre-action protocol letter. Up to Friday, I went down to the studio because I want to make sure I didn't miss any response from him or his attorneys. And up to Friday, there was no response. He has up to about Monday, Tuesday for the latest. Thereafter, I will take the appropriate action of filing in the High Court on this matter. He must say, how come that I lied on him when I said for over 5 years and now 8 years going on that he's a rapist and a pedophile, that nasty son of a gun. Yes, I could say anything, and I have the backup. Don't afraid. And as you notice, somebody said last night, and I took note, like Smith preparing, because like he had court clothes. Yes, I have court clothes. I have court clothes. And I was reading for you, and we reached up to page 5, and I'll continue tonight, because it's 7 pages, so we have 2 more pages. Well, 5, yes, two more pages. Well, actually 3 more pages, but one is just the conclusion, so therefore that's why I said 2. But 3 more pages in numerically, arithmetically, yes, 3 more pages. But the fact of the matter is, 5, 2. The fact of the matter is that this man, this rapscallion, this putrid specimen of humanity, and notice that a fella from Laventille telling he that every day. From Laventille, every day. And he went make a coup. Some say that because I'm from Laventille, so I had nothing, so he went sue. Some say because he know it's true, that's why he afraid to respond. Some say that when Lennox Smith talk, he does get bazodi. Well, he should, because he knows we have had several encounters before, and Hines and all of them would have told him the kind of unrelenting individual that Lennox Smith is as far as principle is concerned. I am not prepared to have those kinds of vipers, those kinds of scum of the Trinidad and Tobago earth, and those who are supposed to be relishing in the subterranean culture of Trinidad and Tobago, crime, criminality, decadence, and of course brutality and evil, and find themselves in the highest executive and or management and political and ministerial offices in the country and do nothing about it. Not Lennox Smith. If I am to be a one-man army, if I am to be a singular individual to come up against them, I will. Whether you want to call me a sleeping giant, or you want to call me a fella who is fearless, and my trepidation can be easily converted into intrepidness. Yes. The fact of the matter is that we have laws in this country, and that there is a law that says that if you rape, there is no, of course, time bar for that, as we would have learned through the Me Too movement. And the prosecution in the United States, persons much more known than Rowley are talking about Cosby, are talking about Weinstein, who had to make a jail for not indiscretions, but for that nasty behavior when they were younger, exploiting young girls and women in their case. In their case, there was no question of a teenager or a person who ought rightly to be in school rather than making child for Rowley. No! She should have been making use of her educational opportunities, and you heard her. We are going to play it here from time to time. You heard her. It was a secret something. She made the child a shy from 18, trying to defend him, of course, but that is indefensible because she still has to cover 9 months before that, which would put her promptly 16 years of age. Common sense will tell you that. Of course, the lawyers and them are trying, of course, to generate a sort of what I consider to be cryptic, enigmatic, and certainly arithmetical newborn telling me under the radio station and that and computer Rowley that Miss Allen, the woman that Rowley, a woman now, but the child then Rowley raped, was out of school. Well, a 13-year-old could be out of school too, stop going to school, and that is real, because out of COVID, the government cannot find how much of them? How much of them they can't find? They drop out of school. That doesn't mean that they are not of school age. So it is asinine. But more than that, I think that Rowley's lawyers, knowing full well that he cannot defend, or they cannot defend him, that there is nothing he could do in terms of reverse concoct bird paper, anything of the sort. Imagine, and don't put it past him, but I want to advocate the most ridiculous scenario that could happen. Imagine a big hardback man, clearly past his 40s and so on, and Rowley bring a bird paper saying that the fella, that person, is about 16 years, and it's ludicrous. But don't put it past them, because remember when Al-Rari and the sale of his car, and he did not, of course, do what was required in law to register and to, of course, go and do the transfer. And then, of course, we were hearing talk that he were attempting, of course, to encourage licensing officers to tamper with the information, with the data relating to that vehicle, so that they could put him in place to say that he did in fact do the transfer. Don't put it past them. They are that mad, and they are that desperate, and they are that stupid, and they are that reckless and brutal and abusive of their offices. Don't put it past them. Why can I draw that conclusion? Very easy. Rowley has confessed that those young two persons who were all over social media holding guns were in fact Al-Rari's children. Up to now, Al-Rari and Seyun. But more than that, the abuse of office for pernicious and self-serving, and to stay there as criminals to manage our affairs. It is impossible. That is like oil and water. That is like water on duck back. It could never happen. No person who have that kind of intent, and we have proven on this program from the commencement and the initiation and the interaction of Rowley since Manning bring him in, that he was like that. Let's go straight to the lines. Professor, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox.
Finally.
Finally, what's harassing you, Lennox? What was going on, Lennox? You read that program just in my mind, just click back to the guns where they pretend to find.
Yes.
Alexander and then that. But
Yeah.
all of we know Alexander is our guy, he had PNM. Lennox, most time I see them same guns. Them was on the gun, he stumbled on no damn bush, Lennox. Alexander, that man always up there with a camera and he had a videotape and when they going for guns or going for this man or going for that man. How come they have a videotape and them going for that one? A video. Sorry, a video. Where the video for that, Lennox? You know how Ian had a copy video and he clip where he going and do he hunt?
Yes.
And afterwards he will show the video. He will show you why he going on the hunt. He will show the video after.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? What to Alexander? Is Alexander his name?
Yeah. I just call him, of course, Johnny Bravo. Plenty muscle, but no brain. But go ahead.
But here what's going on, Lennox?
Yeah.
All I want to do to life to make the PN look good, but they're still not looking good. They go, Lennox, you can't tell me you never see them gun before.
I'm so outward looking like you. I don't go anywhere to that I could see such instruments or such weapons. But go ahead.
Santa Cruz is a big place. The man get no tip off and the man go, you can't be walking in the bush just so and stumble on some gun. What the hell you doing in the bush? Just so. Lennox, you know Santa Cruz how big about this?
Yeah. I'm very
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that area. Yes, I'm very
They like to lie, but they doesn't know how to lie. And even in the practice, they still fail.
Yeah, boy.
Okay,
yeah, yes, indeed. And of course, people, with respect to that matter, I am more concerned with the position that there was surveillance done. If there was surveillance done over a period of time, why would you take so long to arrest anybody connected to it? One would have expected that on the day that they would have discovered, because they would have known that it is there based on their surveillance. So what they want is to connect someone with it. I think they caught 2 persons, I can't remember. But it sounds to me similar to other instances like that, where they say that they, as a result of surveillance and of course intelligence, they're a big word, but it means here having a understanding and of course provide stakeout and so on in order to monitor persons who may be engaged in criminal activity, so that you can have a comprehensive understanding of not only the nature of the crime, but to hold those who are connected because of that intelligence. But we have seen that in Trinidad and Tobago, the police service continues, of course, to say that they are intelligence driven, but there's very few arrests, guns found outside somebody's home or in some bushes, and of course, as in that case, of course, in the forest, they say forested area in Santa Cruz. To what extent, of course, that we will know eventually what really transpired. I'm sure that we will find out ultimately. But I am not too perturbed. I'm not too perturbed, nor am I convinced. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, Lennox, pleasant good night again.
Yes.
I just want to put something out.
Go ahead.
Because I know you have plenty of people listening there. For the people who gonna use the .410 incomplete highway for the first time, be very careful when you come into me that roundabout, because I drive on it tonight. And like I tell people from before, the piece will open up on the next side. That curve where people and I see by people and take the time when speed is concerned, people will get an accident. Because this morning I hear 2 people die and the piece will open recently. So I'm putting out a warning to this piece will open out here. When you come into .410, by the wrongs about please or let take or let time. How they swerve the road day by Annan on the creek there, the road more steep. So you have to be mindful of the speed of the coming into country from that area because they ain't put no proper signage on no part of the road where signage constraint. They write it in the road and then not be so small that people can slow down.
Yeah.
People never think so small, the speed you're going to do, we never to see that. So whoever it is in authority listening, they need to put more signage on that road because people is going to die there too. They don't see this coming. They need to put more signage.
All right.
That signage when they put they need to do something more about that. Right? So I just said let me put that away.
Well, thank you very much, of course, for that piece of information. I drove and I was totally lost because the whole place has changed up. She changed up. I tried to get to Labrie, and I know normally I would pass by SM Jalil there and go make all the wrongs. Then they had to direct me here, there, and everywhere. But eventually, I reached. But of course, in a very what I consider to be puzzled state because I really didn't know. I was totally disoriented. But it's just a matter of time. So if I was disoriented, then of course motorists who may have less experience than I have will certainly may find themselves in problems. So please be cautious. Shuttle down on the speed, meaning that slower your speed, lower your speed, and of course take your time and observe the many of course obvious signs that will govern for the purposes of safety of motorists. But you have that responsibility. I remember very distinctly that I accustomed driving straight down past, of course, Kentucky and the foreshore there, and going straight down to Carnage. So in reaching, of course, the mall, that West Mall vicinity, is a huge roundabout there in the middle of the thing. So I am coming and I see someone coming around the roundabout. But of course, my traffic regulations will tell me one time that of course anybody in a roundabout has the right of way. So I had to stop almost, but uncomfortably close to the car that was coming round the bout. In fact, it was a woman, and she watched me with her eyes, I would say, if it was a cartoon, would have jumped out her eyes. But of course, I stopped eventually, and then gave her a right of way, and then I made my way. So, new roads, new signs, some inconvenient, some not very visible. But if it is a new road, then of course, please, first of all, get familiar with it before you engage in any excesses. Let me put it that way. Any excesses. So please do that, and I think things will be all right. Of course, people, I did what I had to do tonight, and I promised that tonight will be the last night for testing. So tomorrow we will be back on. Tomorrow morning, of course, Dr. Khalid and myself will be back on, yes. And that may be the final test, if you want to call it that, in earnest, because of course it's the daytime. From 8 to 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we are back on. Of course, we missed that Sunday exercise, but now that we are on YouTube and Facebook, we will of course be treating with that, and of course you will see us on Twitter and other platforms pretty soon, but I need to master this one first. Tonight was of course a very humiliating one, a very embarrassing one. I start to talk like what somebody say, like some kind of horror movie star, or should I say actor, right? But nonetheless, we were able, of course, to manage it and still get some information in. Let me quickly, of course, read the and before that, of course, let me say that I was just given a note that at the Port of Spain Hospital there was some kind of shootout there. So even at the hospitals, people are in jeopardy. And I cannot overemphasize that you have to be careful. We are in a Russian roulette environment, in spite of course, the self-serving denials of the present administration, and those, of course, who, knowing differently, but will want to, of course, support something that doesn't exist. And as I said in my example, that a fellow like Rowley, a former teacher, and you heard, or your child came home or grandchild came home and said that he interfered with them, what you would do? Search your conscience. That's all I ask. Search your conscience. I am doing what I have to do because I have a conscience too. And I say that kind of individual, shame on the PNM, shame on the women's arm, shame on the youth arm, and that organization must be relegated to the dustbin of political history if it is that is what they could come up with, knowing full well of his past. And I use no big time word like licentious and salacious. No. He raped, and he spoiled, and he destroyed, and he must pay the price, whether you like it or not. That is unacceptable, and especially in circumstances where he has proven to be an even worse individual as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, policies and programs. And today, the very policies that he destroyed and denied the young people in particular of, whether it's laptops, whether it be books, and even that now, textbooks, is an obsolete Jurassic policy. Between COVID and now, it's e-books they're dealing with. E-books, one computer housing all the books. And I could go fast to say all of the books in Trinidad, the Dice and Israel books in all the libraries, and they have this audacity to engage in profligacy as far as the spending of our monies are concerned. A man who said that he came into office to do more with less, but he building libraries all over the country. That is an obsolete policy. All you need to do is to give the blasted children, every one of them that they enter a primary or secondary school, a laptop, and all of the books that they want will be there and can be there, especially in, of course, depressed communities where there's hardly any room to hold books. The home I came from in Laventille, now that I am who I am today and conscious of the experiences that I would have had, there was no room for books. No books are kept in the house. When you finish with a book, you can't find it for any reference or for any revision on any topic. That's how it is. Yeah, that's how it is. That's the reality of a community like that. But if you have a little device, such as a computer that is very powerful and can take you instantaneously to any part of the globe, or just any topic. And let me show you this, because experience is the best teacher. My son, I don't have he did a science test, and they were asking to color the vertebrate as opposed to invertebrates. But he came home and tell me that the teacher, he colored, because you were supposed to put vertebrates in brown and invertebrates in pink, so he has to color it. He's only 8 years old. But anyhow, he colored an octopus brown as a vertebrate, and he got it right. So I had to tell him, go back And of course, how we confirm? Since he felt that since the teacher put it right, that it had to be right, because a vertebrate, of course, is an animal that has a backbone in the main, and of course has not exoskeleton, but of course their skeleton is internal, such as of course human beings and other animals with which we are familiar with, cat, dogs, etc. But in order to convince him that Miss was wrong, I had to take up my phone. Yes, this phone, and ask the question: is an octopus a vertebrate? And of course, the answer was no, because it doesn't have a backbone. So he was able to not only recognize that the teacher was wrong, but he could have confirmed that by virtue of the device. And let me practicalize it for you. I think I owe it to you, since I raised that topic, to show you how significant these devices are today, and that Rowley and they are totally playing the fool when they are building libraries all over the place, when that money should be converted into, of course, devices, so that they could give any and every child willy-nilly, helter-skelter, because that is what is required. To fix it, there will be, of course, among them not only people who will write programs and apps and so on, and be familiar, of course, with IT, and as well as AI, artificial intelligence, but will fix them, will invent things, because it makes it simple, and they could get the knowledge from the device itself. Let us test it right now. Let's test it. Is an octopus an invertebrate?
According to Wikipedia, an octopus is a soft-bodied, 8-limbed mollusk of the order Octopoda.
So let's ask the question a different way. Is an octopus a vertebrate?
According to Library of Congress, the octopus is an invertebrate, meaning that it does not have a backbone.
It's an invertebrate. It doesn't have a backbone. But he got it right. The teacher put it right, that it is, of course, a vertebrate. And you heard it. I'm sure that, just in case you are in doubt, is an octopus a vertebrate?
According to Library of Congress, the octopus is an invertebrate, meaning that it does not have a backbone.
Easy. So even if he had doubts, he would have had an objective teacher or objective mechanism to verify, because he may say, Daddy, well, you ain't know. But when we went to Google and we Googled it, he has a duty now to go and tell Miss, he got all right, but he have to go back to school to say, Miss, I got one wrong. No need to cheat, because if it was an exam somewhere and you do that, one of the objective exams, take for instance, if it was his C exam, he would have gotten it wrong. But what I know is that after that exercise, he would never forget. It's the same thing here, and across the country. There is no need for you to go to a library. There is no need to pick up a book. You do that for reading purposes and for recreational purposes. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night.
Yeah, teaching tonight, man.
I just wanna tell my people on the live.
Yes.
They know who they are, everybody on the live, besides the PNN people.
Yes.
But if people like Aiden and the rest of them calling me names, well, don't feel sorry and emoji and thing, because I could take talks and I could handle it. So all supposed to know me by now, right? So don't feel sorry and wonder how I take it and all kind of thing, because I just laugh for everything. So you don't have to put the head of the life. Please, thank you.
People are saying things. Don't bother with them. There is none as blind as he or she who refuse to see. Nobody doing like you. Well, put another way, I should be much more realistic. Persons who would like to do what you are doing have not been doing so. And frankly, I have made it very simple and easy for them. I say it doesn't matter about verb and green verb and red verb and so on. Just speak. We will understand that. I would be the first to commend you as opposed to decry you, so that you don't have to be self-convicting that you can't talk or whatever it is. Call. And as I said, we are going to open up a voice component as well, where you can take your time, say what you have to say, and of course I will play during the course of the program as well. We have enough time, more time than the ground report. And if I had to go to 12 o'clock, I go to 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning and so on. I'll get up 1 o'clock anyway. Yes, indeed. So I'm saying to you, let us get off the train of biases and stupidity. The price of ignorance is much more costly than the price of education. At least one person said, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance, try lack of knowledge. That is what ignorance is. Lack of knowledge. Of course, in Trinidad and Tobago, we have perverted it to mean irascible, and of course, the people aggressive and so on. You say he ignorant because he starts to get on in an aggressive manner. No, ignorant means, strictly speaking, lack of knowledge. But I thought that this example would have given you a clear indication as to where we are going and where we have to go. And we have to use medium like these to teach each other, in spite of the fact, because you see, I've learned a long time ago, education is not only remembering, as I would tell my son on a daily basis, and I used to tell my students, but is also crucial because it takes you from the known to the unknown. You know what I say? I say that education takes you from the known to the unknown. At one time, every single child, including ourselves, when we were, of course, having to be taken to school, didn't know where this school is, the compound, but eventually we know. And that becomes part of the cadre of knowledge that we have as we move on to things that were unknown to us or are unknown to us. Even to today, I don't claim to know everything. It's only the PNM say that Graham was the third brightest man in the world. So when I was in Form 3, I tell them fellas and them, listen, I want to meet he. Because if he's the brightest man, the third brightest man in the world, they could never tell who is the first or the second. Always something to make it sound logical. It is called specious. It is called, of course, sophistry. Sounding nice, but really and truly is a bunch of hogwash, as we have seen in the parliament by ministers and big men and women who say they are parliamentarian. I have a particular focus to make on Camille Robinson Regis, and of course her response to Munilal. Yes, and of course referred to by Miss Santa Cruz, but I will deal with that tomorrow. I'll leave some for tonight. I'll leave some off tonight. But the point I'm making is that nobody could be a fool for you. You have to be a fool for yourself. You've seen all this decadence. You've seen all this waste. You've seen all this mismanagement. You've seen all this corruption. You've seen blatant in your face. These fellas and women coalesced and corralled by Rowley. He himself a total miscreant. And you don't know that it's time to get off of that. And that toxicity that cesspool, that cesspit, that will ultimately destroy Trinidad and Tobago? You're so myopic, you can't see? You have on blinders? Come on. Let me just read about 2 paragraphs in the... No, I'll leave it for tomorrow. I'll read it off on the program between Dr. Khaled and myself. I think I should do that. And of course, I will not start from the beginning. I'll start from page 5, and maybe some excerpts of the... Well, of course, to get people up to speed, I will just give some synopsis and some highlights of the... and some anecdotal, of course, important aspects of the pre-action protocol letter that I sent to Dr. Rowley, calling me a liar in the main. And of course, we have several other documents as well coming from through the Freedom of Information Act, one from UDICOT as well, and a number of others. And there's a plethora of other things that are coming. Amnesty International, Me Too movement, the United Nations Human Rights, the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights. Yeah, and a number of other institutions that would impact on Trinidad and Tobago, including institutions that are of an international and regional nature that Trinidad and Tobago EBC is connected to. Yes. Yeah. Must give focus. So don't be fooled or in any way believe that we have not learned from what Rowley and they are capable of doing and are in fact doing and contemplating, and we must of course counter that by of course similar to what Kamala Prasad Bisasa and they too recognizing what Rowley and they are capable of doing. And so of course that is why the Privy Council was engaged in order to make certain that what, as you heard tonight, that they had no choice but to call elections. I have no choice but to call elections. So there are regional, international, local, and other institutions that will force them to be honest or to at least engage with the population where objectivity is required, and the sincerity and the rich dependence on various institutions of the state, independent institutions that are supposed of course to treat with equity and the advancement of Trinidad and Tobago as a nation. Otherwise, Crapo smoke our pipes, and we cannot afford that. Tomorrow of course I'll give you a little more of that. So have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And of course we will end as we started. My apology for the little challenge that we had, but of course eventually the Lord moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. And of course, and if you love something, then of course the only thing could happen is that there may be challenges, and there will be challenges, but at the end of the day you will succeed at last. I remember the poem, sitting at the bottom looking up to the sky. How can you get up there if you would never try? But try and try again, you will succeed at last. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. I see some people of course are there on online ish. I'm seeing Inchan. I don't have the Facebook list before me. I'll have to ask Cuff to assist me with that, how to get it instantaneously. But quite a number of you on YouTube. Sharon, of course, Vidya, we have of course Rajendra, we have of course who again, Sharon, yeah, we have Grace, and we have of course Budmati, yeah, Bumati, and so many more. But let's go to the music. I've had a strenuous night, so to speak. because I couldn't talk, and I was talking like, of course, as somebody say, some kind of a fellow from Barabas. But that being as it may, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye bye.
No, I've never been someone shy until I seen your eyes. Still I had to try, yeah. Oh yes, let me get my words right and then approach you. When I treat you like a man is supposed to, you'll never have to cry. No, I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. She's royal, yeah, so royal, and I want her in my life. No word of lie. Oh, did you ever say thank you for all the things that I've shown you? No, still I stood by you. Has it occurred to you lately how I feel in my baby? No, still I stand by you. Yeah, you. Yet there is one thing I need you to know about this small matter, what you neglect to show. Show me that you love me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Show me that you care. So we can be blessed now, minus the stress now. Yeah. Did I render you lonely? Was I your one and only? No, still I stood by you. Did you give me more than I bargained? Dream the love but I'm a fountain. Yeah, still I stand by you. Yes, there is one thing I need you to know about this small matter, what you neglect to show. Show me that you love me. Yeah. Show me that you care. So we can be blessed now, minus the stress now. The agony plus devotion, no render my emotion in a garbage man.